All right, guys, welcome back for the last video of the season. You can see I've got the team for game week 37 on the screen, but I want to take a quick look at the previous few weeks just to see how we got to where we are today. You can see we're at 4.9K, so just run it back real quick. Game week 34, and the week went just super well, 125 points, big green arrow. We had made it up to 14K in the world, and then followed it up with another big week up to 7K in the world. So went super well, and then want to take a quick look at the next week, game week 35. Didn't go as well, obviously a little red arrow, but just want to take a look at the one key decision in this week, which kind of epitomizes a lot of what happens throughout the season. You can see I've got Gvardiol on the bench with 15 points, and I've got Gabriel in with 1 point. I was going to start Cher. He had Sheffield at home. He got injured in that game, and then Porro had a double game week. So this swing right here, one single decision, is a swing of 14 points, and 14 points is the difference of about, I think 2,000 rankings. So at where I'm at in the ranks, which is way up there. So 14 points is huge. This has happened a number of times this season. It's just classic. What can you do about it? So we dropped down a little bit to 8.6K and then followed it up in game week 36 with my best week of the season. We had a huge week. No chips were played, no nothing, well over 100 points. Every single player in my team returned except for Porro and Garnacho, but what can you do? You can't be upset about that. 9 out of 11 returning. Mo's 13 was a bit of a differential and was huge for me. I mean, Holland went off. Jackson went off. All the defenders other than Porro got points. So this was a huge week. It was my best rank of the season at 62,000. You can see I had a previous one, I think game week 25, where I had in the top 100K as well. But super rare to get a rank that high. Double game week 37 was a huge week for planning. Everybody was planning to use their bench boost, which is potentially the most powerful chip. Means that all 15 of your players play. So you could see I had Kelleher didn't play. There was two key options here. The main decision was to keep Mo as opposed to selling Mo for Foden. Everybody in the top 10K has Foden. But if I sold Mo to Foden and then replaced all three injured players I had, so Cher, Van Heck, and then Kelleher who doesn't play, that would cost me minus 8 points. So 4 transfers for minus 8 points, which means I need a lot of those guys to do really well to make up those hits. So I took the risk-averse strategy, and I brought in Kyle Walker for Cher, and then Kraft. It was either Kraft or Burn in either option, and that came out neutral. The defender was Walker, who actually outscored Foden. And Trent, who's the guy I probably would have gotten, did nothing. So Walker ended up being a huge boon. Mo stunk it up, but what can you do? He's a differential captain this week. And as I said, Foden did well, but Walker outscored him. All in all, the transfers went pretty well. It was a difficult decision. I recruited the advice of Dan, our fantasy champion for the season, which we'll take a look at for a sec. He advised me to go with the Foden route. I went against it. I should have listened to the man, and we'll see why right now. All right, guys, so moving just quickly into the draft league. You can see Dan has secured the victory. Danny was a well-deserved champion this year. You can see Kennedy tied myself last week, and he ties Dan this week, taking 2 points away from me, looking at it at the negative view, and then giving Dan the 1 point, looking at it at the positive view. So Dan is up 4 points, 1 game to go. Can't catch him. The only other thing is the points. I put up a massive score this week. I needed to make up 67 points on Dan in 2 weeks and win out. And I made up 40 points, so I'm just curious to see if I can make up another 25, 26 this week. All in all, Danny was a worthy champion, and we'll see what happens next year. Moving back into the team, this is the main portion of the video right now. What are we going to do for the last week of the season? So you can see the Game Week 38 team on your screen right now, but we're going to take a look real quick at the Premier League standings. I'll try and run through this real quick, but just want to give a brief overview of what teams are playing for, the European spots that are available, who's not playing for anything, etc. So at the top two, of course, Man City and Arsenal have a ton to play for. They're playing for the title. Interesting thing to note here is that goal difference doesn't matter in this last week. If Man City draws and Arsenal wins, even if it's 1-0, Arsenal will be champions. If Man City wins, even if it's 1-0, Man City will be champions. So this is a theme actually throughout every team that has something to play for. The goal difference won't matter just based on the relative standings. So City and Arsenal, something to play for, but I trust their defense more than their offense. Moving down, Liverpool doesn't actually have anything to play for, but it's Klopp's last game. They're locked into third place, but they're going to want to go out with a bang. They're going to score a ton of goals, I think. Villa, absolutely nothing to play for, locked into fourth place. And the main ones are here, 5 through 8. Spurs, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Man U, all fighting for European spaces. So 5th place, confirmed, gets Europa League. 6th place will get Europa League if Man U loses the FA Cup. If Man U wins the FA Cup, then the Europa League spots will go to Man U and only the 5th place. So 6th place currently should get the Europa Conference League. If Man U loses the FA Cup, 6th place will get Europa League, and 7th place will get Europa Conference League. So you can see Spurs still have something to play for. They need a draw to secure 5th place. They don't want to rely on Man U losing the FA Cup, even though that's probably likely to happen. So Spurs just need a draw. Chelsea, they need a win. Again, they don't need to score a ton of goals either. They're not going to beat Newcastle's goal difference. They're not going to lose to Spurs' goal difference if Spurs loses. So Chelsea just need a win. Newcastle need a win and a little bit of help. And then Man U needs a win and a lot of help. Really, for Man U, they need to win the FA Cup. So of these 4 teams, it's really Newcastle, Chelsea, and Spurs that you probably want to target. So that's the main things to play for up top, the European competition spots and the title and Klopp's last game. There's only a few more to talk about. It's, this band in the middle, you can see West Ham has nothing to play for. Like Villa, they're locked into their place. 10th through 14th can all experience up to a 4-place swing in the standings and a minimum of 2-place swing. I don't know the exact amount this year, but you get £2 to £3 million per league position. They have 50-50. It's a little bit similar to the NFL with parity where they profit share, but then it's a little bit based on merit where your position in the league table determines how much money you win as well. So the league positions actually matter, and then the relegation battle doesn't really matter. There's not a lot to play for there. So that's a wrap on what everybody's got to play for and the league position. So we'll take a look back at the team in Game Week 38. There's only a few decisions to really cover here. The first one to talk about is the defender. The decision is whether to start Porro or Walker. I think Gabriel will start for sure. I think Vardiol will start for sure. The guy's basically left wing, scoring a ton of goals. Walker has been doing really well, and you would say he's really their most nailed defender, other than maybe Ruben Diaz. So Walker's a very good option, but Porro's got a lot of attacking threat. So it's just a tight call here. I think one that'll come down to the wire. I'll probably pick Walker, especially because a ton of people will be tripled up on City, and I have 3 City, so I think I want to play the 3 City. Simple enough. So the next big decision is in midfield. Madison stinks. He's absolutely horrible. He's gotten me 1 return since I've had him in the double game week. So Madison's terrible. It's tough to sell him, as it has been every single week this week. The prudent option is Havertz. Havertz has been absolutely on fire ever since he started playing, I think back in game week 25. He's got more expected goals than Saka. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Havertz, but he's just insane, and they have a ton to play for in the last week. I also only have 1 Arsenal player, so I think Havertz is the prudent decision. Could alternatively go Son to Saka, but then I would keep Madison, and it would basically be Madison plus Saka versus Son plus Havertz. I think Son plus Havertz is clearly better there. So Havertz is the most likely transfer. The other big decision this week, before we talk about the last transfer possibility, is the captaincy. It's Mo versus Haaland for me. Haaland is going to be captained by everybody, so if I go against him with Mo, it's going to be a huge risk. But the thing is nobody has Mo. I kept him through the Game Week 37 double game week. He did nothing for me. It might be sunk cost fallacy if I captain him. I don't know, but I want to captain him as a differential. It's Klopp's last game. It could also be Mo's last game. So while I think he may get an early sub, I also think they may score 4 or 5 goals. And then the other possible transfer, if I don't do the sensible Havertz one, would be Isak. Isak hasn't been great. It goes along with the Liverpool discussion. It would be Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo's been really good. He's got 2 goals in his last 2 game weeks. Darwin seems to be out of favor. I think it's going to be hard to not go with Havertz. So it's probably going to be Havertz in for Madison. It'll probably be Mo captain over Haaland, though you're going to get early team news, so we'll see what happens. So a few decisions to make on the last game of the season. Expecting a lot of goals this week, and it should be a lot of fun, but every game kicks off at the same time on Sunday at 11. So thank you guys. Big game, big week, big season. We're at 4.9K, trying to finish in the top 10K. At this point, trying to finish in the top 5K. Shout out to Dan, our Fantasy Draft League champion, and appreciate you guys for following along.